Right then, it's been a while since I've done a stand-up, talky, rant-style video, so I thought, why not? I thought, why not do a little series on the biggest scams, fads, myths, nutribolics, whatever you want to call it, in the health and fitness industry right now. And if I miss any in this video, please do comment down below. In the same way, if there's any health or fitness content, nutrition content, etc., that you see online that you're not quite sure about, send it over to me and I'll happily make videos on it. This is the kind of thing that I absolutely love, even though for the most part, this type of content absolutely kills me because so many people buy into it and believe it. And it's just such a shame how many people get misled by absolute bollocks online. So let's get into it. The biggest health fads, scams, myths, etc. of 2024. Let's get into number one. And I think definitely I've been seeing a rise in Celtic sea salt or Himalayan sea salt obsessives. People that seem to think that regular salt is bad and Celtic sea salt or Himalayan salt is like magical or something. I've got no idea how this kind of thing happens, but let's break down what the hell they're talking about. The idea is that Celtic sea salt or Himalayan salt contains more minerals than regular old boring table salt, okay? And because of that, it's healthier. But the thing is, the actual quantity of these trace minerals found in things like Celtic sea salt or Himalayan salt are so low that you would literally have to have the most absurd amount of salt on a daily basis to get anywhere near your mineral needs for that day. You do not go to salt to meet your daily mineral needs. You just don't. You don't get enough of those minerals from salt, okay? So that literally pushes that argument under the bus straight away. If you eat a normal balanced diet, you'll get your minerals. It's okay. You don't need to start drinking copious amounts of Celtic sea salt or Himalayan salt in order to meet your mineral needs. So that's that one. Number two, continuous blood glucose monitors for non-diabetic people. Now, they are 100% can be really useful for diabetics, obviously. That's pretty self-explanatory. I don't need to go into that. But what's being sold to the public now is this idea that blood sugar spikes are bad and we need to monitor them. Now, it is very clear that for healthy individuals that are non-diabetic, this is completely false. This is utterly pointless. If you're a healthy person, blood sugar spikes are totally normal and totally okay. You will have a blood sugar response after eating pretty much anything. Even after eating exclusively protein, your blood sugar will show a response. And this idea that blood sugar spikes are a problem and are bad for your health is just a misconception derived by people like the Glucose Goddess to sell you her supplement, the anti-spike formula, which I think we'll get into now as the next biggest scam of 2024. This is all in the marketing, okay? Blood sugar spikes being made a problem. Everyone now views them as a problem. They're now terrified of carbs, terrified of sugars, and they want to know how they can get away with eating carbs or sugar without a blood sugar spike that wouldn't even be negatively affecting them in the first place. And then miraculously comes the anti-spike formula, a supplement that has absolutely no evidence on the actual supplement itself to support the claims she makes about the supplement. Yes, some of the individual ingredients might be useful, but the supplement as a whole has not been tested. So great. The claims made around this supplement are of course absolutely absurd, but the biggest problem here isn't necessarily the supplement, it's how this idea is framed, how the idea that blood sugar spikes are bad in the first place, because we know they're not for healthy people. And because it draws so much attention to blood glucose being a problem, people might then forget or at least disregard other factors like calories or fat, for example. And they might then think, oh, well, if I have this anti-spike formula with my cake, then it's not really going to be that bad for my health. But guess what? You can still overconsume calories even if your blood sugar spikes are somewhat controlled, even if the supplement did work. It's one of those frustrating, albeit very well marketed and very well carried out strategies where people frame something as a problem for years on end and then sell you the solution even when you don't even need the thing in the first place because it's not a bloody problem. Number three, grass-fed beef. Now, before I get ripped to shreds here, yes, grass-fed beef might be a little bit better. Maybe. We're talking about marginal amounts. Grass-fed beef isn't necessarily better than grain-fed beef, okay? In fact, from the sustainability standpoint, it very likely isn't. Now, you might come at me from the regenerative agriculture perspective, and yeah, maybe, but the world couldn't do that. The amount of space required for grass-fed cattle versus grain-fed cattle is insane. You need so much more space so much more time, therefore methane emissions are far higher. Maybe grass-fed beef contains more nutrients, but the regulations for grass-fed beef are piss poor. You can feed a cow grass for a portion of its life and claim it's grass-fed. So it's a very tough one to actually weigh up and manage. And at the end of the day, this whole grass-fed thing is just a buzzword now. And like, I'm not disputing that it might be better in some ways, but it's also not as good in other ways. Like, there's always gonna be trade-offs, okay? Now, I'm not gonna get into the details with this. I more just wanna focus on how the grass-fed thing is communicated. Like, it is just a buzzword. People will just sit and go, I'm having my grass-fed beef, my grass-fed butter, my grass-fed raw milk, my grass-fed this, my grass-fed that, just to chuck out health phrases and health terms because it sounds healthy, and people appeal to it because it's just basic naturalistic fallacy at the end of the day. And that moves me swiftly on to the next one, which is basically anything raw. Now, raw is another one of these 2024 buzzword health claims where as soon as something's raw, it's automatically better. Now, I'm not denying that there might be some truth in this somewhere. I want to emphasize the research is so early doors on all of these things, so the claims made around it are just so far shot already, just due to the fact there's barely any evidence there. And something is not necessarily better by proxy just because it's raw. So I am going to say right now at this stage that just because something's raw doesn't make it better necessarily. And the way this has been put on a pedestal as like the best marker of health food right now is so stupid, it's unbelievable. Not to mention the severe health risk that comes about from consuming certain raw foods and raw animal products. They are not made up, they are very real. I think something's a problem when people turn to eating raw liver to get their nutrients when they could just get it from eating a normal diet. That's the stupidest thing, I think, with the whole raw food thing, is that people that consume a somewhat okay diet don't need to be consuming raw, highly bioavailable liver to get their nutrition. You don't need to do it, right? It's so stupid. You don't need to be consuming a raw piece of meat to get your daily nutrient intake. Just eat a balanced diet, buddy, if you can. Like, look, if you have intolerances or issues with every other food other than meat and you literally have to do it that way, then fine. I'm not shitting on your bonfire, that's totally okay. But for the vast majority of people, you just don't need to do it. And there's this whole idea being pushed on social media right now that everyone is like nutrient deficient and that the only solution to being nutrient deficient is by eating raw, highly bioavailable foods like raw liver. And you just go, you just don't need to do that. Just eat a balanced diet, improve the quality of your diet, eat more whole foods, and your nutrition will obviously follow. That about wraps it for this video. If you have anything you're confused about online when it comes to health, fitness, nutrition content, or just things that you think are scams or myths, or you're just frankly not sure about, comment any suggestions or thoughts down below, or drop me a DM and I'll happily include them in a second video. I think I will definitely need to do a part 2. I've still got a list of things to go through when it comes to scams and myths and bullshit, etc. So yes, I imagine I'll be making a lot more of these videos. So if you have any suggestions, fire away. And as always, please do like, follow, subscribe, all of that jazz, and I will see you next week.